Hello, my name's Scott Davis, and welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for November 23rd to November 29th of 2014. And on November 23rd, we have the sun. We can see it right here. It's the black circle with the dot in it. It's located in early Sagittarius. It's in the 34th gate or hexagram, and we can see the stacks of lines on the outside of the wheel that the 34th hexagram, and again, these are numbered from bottom to top, goes yang, 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 yin, yin. And the 34th hexagram is then mapped to an opening in an energy channel called the gate. And right here we have the 34th gate of power, the power of the great. Power is only great when its display or use serves the common good. It's located in the sacral center in an individual energy path in the centering circuit called the Channel of Exploration, a design of following one's convictions that connects to the 10th gate of behavior of the self, treading the underlying code of behavior, which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. And being part of the integration channels, it also the 34 also forms the channel of power, the design of the archetype, with the 57th gate, and of intuitive insight, the gentle, and the channel of charisma, a design where thoughts must become deeds, with the 20th gate of the now contemplation. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person, that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on November 23rd. We have the sun in the 34th gate, with the earth in the 20th gate, the north node in the 57th gate, the south node is in the 51st gate, Mercury is in the 43rd gate, Venus is in the 9th gate, and then we've got Mars in the 61st gate, with Jupiter in the 4th gate, and Saturn is in the 14th gate. Uranus is still retrograde in the 21st gate. Neptune is in the 55, and Pluto is in the 38. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your human design chart. And you can get, because if you know, some of these transits form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com, click on the button that says Get Your Free Rave Chart, and enter in your birth information. So the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. No matter what the weather is, your individual strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru Hu said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And we begin the week with 3 channel definitions due to the transit field, with the sun and earth axis in the 2034 or the 3420. This is the channel of charisma. Until November 27th. This is the influences us to become busier in the now, where the things we think about become the experiences that we're having. And expect folks to be more deeply involved in their daily activities and maybe unaware of the expectations of others. People are not likely to even notice how busy they are, with the possibility of erupting spontaneously without an awareness of why. They could be in their own little world, out of sight, out of mind. This is also affects non-generator types and feeling busy and having the endurance to work, but of course don't get used to it. And it's individual circuitry, so this definition brings melancholy that's best used in creative activities. And then with the sun in the 34th gate, and we've got the north node in the 57th gate, we have the channel of power, the design of an archetype, which will be with us until November 27th, and then will be an undefined for just 2 hours, and then redefined on later on November 27th until December 1st, when Mercury moves into the 34th gate, just after the sun has moved out. So this channel brings an attunement to the body to have an acute early warning system to anything in the immediate environment. This increases our intuitive awareness through the power of sacral response. This may affect folks to feel on guard and alert to any dangers in the moment. This is animal instinct to engage in battle or jump out of the way with a split-second response. From our attunement to sound and vibration. People will be more in tune with what's being said from the tone of voice of the speaker rather than the words spoken. Sometimes this is experienced as a coolness by others, but as an individual channel of survival, it represents the archetype of what it is to be human. And with the defined splenic center, which we'll have all week except for those 2 hours that I mentioned, this brings a sense of well-being or an intuition. And Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit that defines the splenic center. Again, individual circuitry, so it's melancholy, feeling blue, that, as we talked about before, is about energy that best could be channeled into something that was creative or is creative for you. And then with the Earth in the 20 and the Sun in the 34, with the Earth in the 20 and the Sun and the North Node in the 57, we have the channel of the brainwave again until the 27th. And again, we have splenic definition. So again, more emphasis on well-being and intuition. This is a projected channel, so it needs an invitation to be shared. So if during this transit period you see the truth, it doesn't mean that you're here to share it. This brings a very sharp intuition connected to the throat that moves so fast that the brain cannot understand it until afterwards. It brings intuitive adaptation to ensure survival in those that have it in their rave charts. Folks may find that they can intuit answers that bring wisdom if they can release their fear of the unknown. But if they blurted out these epiphanies without an invitation, they're likely to find misunderstandings and resistance. As we're looking at this, I want to talk a little bit more about individual circuitry, since we have an individual definition all week long except for 2 hours on the 27th. Last week I talked about this too. For people who don't experience this through their individual design, they may wake up sad and wonder what's the reason, but rather than analyzing our relationships with others or our unrealized goal, or anything that we've assigned value to that may be eluding us, we should recognize, as Rob put it, that melancholy is the chemistry for creativity. It's the muse. So this is really a time to use this energy for creative possibilities. And then when we think about the homogenization of most people, we've got billions and billions of people that are unaware of this information, and all that melancholy sadness at this time period that is emphasized by this individual activations has an impact on the world around us. I'd expect people will wonder, why do they feel sad, and look for reasons in the external world. For those of us who understand that this is simply an aspect of individual activations in the transit field, and can recognize that this too shall pass. If our strategy and authority leads us in the direction, this energy is great fuel for creativity, particularly for creativity engaged in for the satisfaction of the artist or musician, poet, writer, any type of individual creator. If someone else is moved by the creativity, that's wonderful, but the individual empowers by following their own path. So we're going to be looking at the sun's Ravi Ching line values daily, because 70% of the neutrinos that we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these shift aligned values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. Now, of course, if your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program is affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On November 23rd, we have the sun in the 43rd hexagram. It's in the first line at the beginning of the day, the bully, the indiscriminate use of power, exalted, the less negative, the resort to power as a manifestation of frustration, the energy to display power as a response to frustration, detrimented, the comeuppance that is the inevitable destiny of the bully, the ever-present risk of retaliation to power displays. And we're starting the week with the sun in the lower trigon, first, second, and third lines. So this is the energy where people are looking more inward. They're absorbed in their own process. The theme of the first line day is fear or anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, a day to look into things, a day to maybe do some research. And then later on the 23rd, the sun moves from the investigative first line into the hermit second line of the 34th hexagram. This shift happens at 5:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All the times I'm going to give you are going to be Eastern Standard Time, so you want to convert that to your local time zone. And the sun in the 34-2 is described as momentum, exalted, the ability when victory is in sight not to lose perspective. The power grows when victory is in sight. Detriment, a tendency to be emotionally carried away by the smell of victory. The power for growth limited by impatience. And second line days, everyone's waiting for something. They're waiting to be called. People get stuck in their own trip. So it might not be a great day to have a party because nobody really wants to come. They'd rather stay home with that second line energetic. On the 24th, the sun then moves into the third line. So we move from the hermit line into the martyr line of the 34th hexagram, shifting happening at 4:06 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 34-3 is machismo, the indiscriminate display of power exalted, where machismo unfortunately is invariably backed up by power. This is an exaltation only in that it is natural and not contrived. The display of power that defines any role. Detrimented, a reasoned and calculated display. The communication of disinformation, the calculated display of power to define the role. And third line days, we're talking about the martyr, trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. Where things bump into you. So you want to be careful on the road, be careful of things in your environment, whether it's someone's elbows or a swinging door. Might be a day when we have bonds made and broken. Again, we've got a trial and error process where things are going to bump into you, or it's a material day. So it might be a good day to do business and work on the material plane, but you have to be careful because things can go wrong. But those things that go wrong lead to discovery. And then also on the 24th, Mercury moves from the 43rd hexagram and joins Saturn in the 14. And Mercury is the messenger of the gods. This is about communication and expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also music. And what do you need to communicate in this life? Well, we communicate the message of the design Mercury through the medium of the personality Mercury. And what might be communicated when Mercury's in the 14? Well, do we have the fuel to follow our direction? This is the gate of power skills, possession in great measure, the accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupling grace with control. And Mercury is detrimented in the first line of the 14. which is money isn't everything. The recognition that wealth has its own problems. Detriment, delusion that you can throw money at problems. Energy alone is never the key. And then on the 25th, the sun moves into the fourth line. So we move from the martyr line into the line of the opportunist of the 34th hexagram again. Shifting, this happens at 2:21 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it's described as triumph, the freedom in absolute victory to unlimited use of power, exalted a tendency to victory. In victory to restrain excessive power in favor of more subtle and covert styles. The inherent confidence to use power subtly. Detrimented ego gratification in the unrestrained use of power with impunity, inevitably leading to abuse, a lack of confidence that can lead to abuse of power. And fourth line days, we've moved from the lower trigram to the upper trigram. We've moved from a more personal process to a transpersonal process. So the perspective moves from looking inward to now looking more outward with the themes of friendship and companionship, of networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction, and people are more open to networking and being friendly and social. And also on the 25th, Venus moves from the ninth hexagram to the fifth. And let's see. In human design, Venus is very powerful. It's deeply misunderstood, according to Ra. It brings morality, the natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us and what disturbs you on a moral level. Well, your design and personality Venuses tell of the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life, and that if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution, according to Ra. And Venus is in the fifth gate of fixed rhythms, waiting, the fundamental attunement to natural rhythms, waiting as an active state of awareness. Venus in the first line of the fifth hexagram is perseverance. If the captain must, he goes down with the ship, exalted. Courage to face adversity, the power to maintain one's own rhythm. Detriment, the premature and often disastrous urge to cut one's losses. Weakness in maintaining one's rhythm when challenged. And on the 26th, the sun then moves into the fifth line of the 34th hexagram at 12:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So it's just 35 minutes after midnight on the 26th. The sun in the 34:5 is described as annihilation, the total elimination of resistance, exalted, the power to destroy completely, and once this is accomplished, the ability to transfer the power to normal processes. The resistance to release power other than when necessary. Detrimented, a difficulty in shedding the patterns established to deal with resistance, the discomfort with the need to always release power. And the fifth line days, this is we're in the line of the heretic now. So it's a day of suspicion, but also universalization, where something can leak out and spread like a virus, whether it's a YouTube video or perhaps a Facebook post that gets millions of hits and goes viral. It's also a day of great deal of suspicion and paranoia. As I've mentioned before, this is all coming from projection. The projection is first that the person could do it, they'd be great at it, and for whatever reason that person doesn't do it, can't do it, doesn't want to do it, for whatever reason they do not meet the expectation, they get punished. So it really is not paranoia if they're not, if they are out to get you. So seduction is also another theme of a fifth line day. And then later on the 26th, the sun then moves into the sixth line of the 34th hexagram. This shift happens at 10:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so an hour and 11 minutes before midnight on the 26th in the Eastern time zone. And the sun is exalted in the 34.6 due to the Earth being in the 20th gate. And this is common sense, knowing when enough is enough. Exalted the good sense of when having bitten off more than one can chew, to spit it, part of it out. The restriction of the release of power when one does not have enough strength to maintain it. And 6-line days, Ra talks about, don't get stuck with your head in the clouds because you'll end up with something banging into your shins or your kneecaps. It's a day where there is a real lack of focus on what's going on around you because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. Like 3rd-line days, there's certain danger of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. Think about the roof of the hexagram, the top of the hexagram. If you're sitting on the roof of your house, you're probably not looking at the roofs much unless you're doing repairs up there, but more what's going on in your neighborhood, what's going on around your house. And then on the 27th, the sun moves from the 34th hexagram into the 9, and the Earth moves from the 20 into the 16. Sorry about this. Tape residue. Okay. So let's talk about the Earth's in the 16th gate. I'm leaving the 34th up because in less than 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, we're going to have Mercury moving into that 34th and redefining this channel. So we've got the Earth. It's in the 16th hexagram and the gate of skills, enthusiasm, the great art of enriching life by harmonic channeling of energy. The shift happening at 9:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And like I said, I'm leaving up the 34 because by 11:10 p.m. We'll have Mercury redefining this channel. So this channel is only not defined all week long between 9:03 p.m. and 11:10 Eastern Standard Time on the 27th. So we have the sun is in the 9th gate of focus, the taming power of the small. The potential can be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects. The sun is in, of course, the 1st line of the 9, and this is sensibility, a balanced and responsible approach to problem solving. Exalted the ability to avoid frustration through the creation of new forms, the power in focusing to create new forms. Detrimented after a hasty and frustrating search, the urge to kick in the door when the keys are in your pocket, the power to generate that which will lose focus. And the sun, again, we're in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd line, so in the lower trigram. So the shift is for a more inward focus. And the 1st line, of course, we've talked about before, is about fear or anxiety, triggering the need to investigate. Then also on the 27th, Mercury moves from the 14th, leaving Saturn into the 34th hexagram. And Mercury, we've talked about before, being the messenger of the gods. This is a communication through words, but also through music, according to Ra. And we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality, Mercury. And what might be communicated with Mercury in the 34? Well, we may hear more grunting and sighing with Mercury in the 34. This is the gate of power. The power of the great. The power is only great when its display or use serves the common good. And Mercury is in the 34-1. And this is the bully, the indiscriminate use of power, exalted, the less negative, the resort to power as a manifestation of frustration, the energy to display power as a response to frustration, detriment, the comeuppance, that inevitable display, that is the inevitable inevitable destiny of the bully, the ever-present risk of retaliation from power displays. And so with Mercury in the 34th hexagram on the 27th and the North Node in the 57, again, we have the channel of power, the design of the archetype, which will be with us until December 1st. So again, this brings splenic definition, where folks who don't have splenic definition in their design may get rid of something that is good for them with that definition. So this is also brings a sensitivity to what's happening in our immediate environment. And mostly through sound and vibration, because this is a individual circuitry that's geared towards sound, and this is the purpose of the integration channels are for survival. And again, this is continuing to bring definition that we experience through feeling blue or a sense of melancholy. And then on the 28th. The sun moves into the second line of the ninth hexagram. The shift happens at 7:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 9-2 is described as misery loves company, exalted, collaboration with others to temper frustration, the power to collaborate with others in focusing, detrimented, the overwhelming need for expansion that can lead to errors in judgment, missed opportunities, and depression. The drive to collaborate that will miss focus. And again, second line, days people are waiting for things, they're waiting to be called. So this is more of an energy where people would rather remain home in their hermitages rather than going out and doing something under that kind of energetic. And then on the 29th, the sun then moves into the third line. So we've moved from the hermit line into the martyr line of the ninth hexagram. This shift happening at 5:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the sun is detrimented in the 9-3, the straw that breaks the camel's back, the overlooked mirror element that always predetermines failure, detrimented, persistent force that saps vitality and turns molehills into mountains. The power to focus the power to turn a focus into an obsession. And again, third line, martyr energy, bonds made and broken, trial and error process. Things go wrong, but the things that do go wrong are there to lead to discovery. So this week, the sun begins moving through the 9 and then the 5, the 26, and the 11th hexagrams, which are the gates that are associated with the Prometheus god's head, which is the second phase of the quarter of mutation. Mutation is about purpose being fulfilled through transformation and accepting death. And Prometheus was a Titan who supported Zeus during the battle between the Titans and the Olympian gods, which the Olympian gods won. And because he supported Zeus, it won him favor when the other Titans were banished by the victorious Zeus. Later, Prometheus tricks Zeus into accepting a sacrifice of inedible animal parts, while the edible animal parts were left for humans, setting a precedent for future sacrifices. And Zeus responded by taking fire away from humanity, which Prometheus returned and was punished by being tied to a rock where an eagle would eat his liver every day, and it would grow back every night until Chiron, the wounded healer in Greek mythology, traded his life to have Prometheus released. And in the quarter of mutation, we begin to address our mortality. Uh, uh, and we've seen in the past phases the theme of the mind running the form. And in the realm of Sirius, the mind recognizes that the form's going to die and loses its identification with its immortality. And when we look at the hexagrams associated with Prometheus, we have the ninth gate of focus, hexagram of focus, the taming power of the small, the fifth of fixed rhythms and waiting, the 26th, the egoist, the taming power of the great, and then the 11th is ideas, peace, and the arc of the hexagrams of the Prometheus god's head seem to represent the phases of the warrior archetype. With the ninth gate, we have a focus on details, with identifying patterns, practice and repetition to master the fire related to the collective logics, determination and concentration. The fifth continues that stream of collective logic to not only recognize the pattern, but to be in its natural flow towards mastery through waiting for awareness. The 26th gate, in my opinion, is really where the god's head gets its name, because Prometheus was the trickster, and through manipulation brings resources to the tribe, which are themes of the 26th hexagram. And then the 11th is abstract collective, where the experiences from the past become ideas that are shared with the collective. And the quarter of mutation is about accepting death, and the warrior is the willingness to kill and be killed to eventually have peace. But we can have peace by following our strategy and authority, and remaining present in the moment, where there is no fear about what's going to happen next. Whatever it is, it will be correct as long as we're honoring our authority and following our strategy. So no matter what the energies are that are conditioning you during the week, just remember this is experience about being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle that's driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day is a blessing, no matter what dramas beckon to distract us. We're all here just giving the performance of our lifetime on this world stage. Just take some time to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on November 30th of 2014. It should be available on the 29th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, and YouTube. There's New World Birth's presence there. I encourage you to share this information, whether it's as videos or it's text, as widely as you choose. And you can contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. you'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. And we are also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. So if you contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com, I can send you instructions on how to make a donation. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. And as I would like to thank you for your attention to what we've been discussing, and I really look forward to connecting to you in the future, whether it's in a reading or on the radio show, or in a future video. So, or send me an email if you have a question. Anyway, thanks everybody, and much gratitude. Peace.